the address of this place that he had purchased to share with this backwoods bitch 9 miles from my house in Livingston. And they're living the high life. I went to the house, a beautiful house with a 3-car garage. I was cupping my eyes at every window. Oh, okay, not my house. But this is a good come up for a 32-year-old woman who's been involved with my husband for over 10 years. Pulled out my spray paint. And I spray painted Kevin and Wendy forever. He was tricking up money. She's in the passenger seat of my Rolls Royce Ferrari. And, really? Really? And our son's in Miami. So I have to be calm on the phone with him, like a loving mother.
What if your entire empire of betrayal crumbled overnight? That's the brutal reality slamming Kevin Hunter and longtime mistress Sharina Hudson as Wendy Williams' fortune slips through their fingers for good. For over a decade, they allegedly lived like royalty, plotting to bankroll their future on the back of a woman they both left broken. But when Wendy's talk show ended in 2022 and a court-ordered guardianship locked down her accounts, the cash pipeline dried up almost instantly. Now, insiders say Kevin's been hit with a financial collapse so severe he's unloading luxury assets and dodging lawsuits, while Sharina, once flaunting designer bags and private brunches, is reportedly back to hustling just to survive. To understand how deep this goes, you have to go back to the beginning. Sharina Hudson is the same woman Kevin kept hidden for over a decade while publicly managing Wendy's career. Insiders familiar with the timeline say the affair had been active for over 15 years, overlapping with some of Wendy's most vulnerable periods, including hospitalizations and rehab stints. It wasn't just a fling either. Kevin reportedly purchased property for Sharina, funded her lifestyle, and even helped launch her vegan chef brand, allegedly using resources tied to Wendy's income. Sharina reportedly gave birth to his daughter in 2019. Then came the collapse. Wendy's accounts were frozen by Wells Fargo in 2022, citing suspicious withdrawals and concerns about exploitation, and a guardianship was put in place shortly after. With the talk show off the air and Wendy now under that guardianship, the monthly checks Kevin had been receiving, reportedly around $250,000 a month post-divorce, simply stopped. By 2023, legal documents confirmed what a lot of people already suspected. The money was gone, and Kevin was out of options. One judge flatly denied his attempt to reinstate alimony, ruling Wendy was under no obligation to continue those payments under their original settlement terms. That's when Kevin's financial situation really started to unravel in public. He claimed in court he couldn't pay basic bills. HOA dues, car insurance, credit card minimums. UBS Bank filed suit against him in mid-2024 over more than $20,000 in unpaid debt. Around the same time, public records showed him pawning high-end vehicles and listing the Florida home he once shared with Sharina for over $1.2 million, though neighbors reportedly said the property had already fallen into disrepair, another sign the money had run out. With his legal efforts to restart the alimony failing, Kevin pivoted to something much bigger, a $250 million lawsuit, not just against Wendy, but against her guardian and Wells Fargo, alleging a sweeping conspiracy to cut him off entirely. He claimed in the filing that this wasn't a medical decision at all. It was a setup, alleging that a network of lawyers, banks, and guardians colluded to freeze Wendy's assets and divide the spoils while cutting off people like him who'd once lived off her income. Legal experts were quick to point out he has no actual legal standing to sue on Wendy's behalf, especially post-divorce with no current role in her affairs. Still, the filing made headlines, dragging court-appointed officials, medical professionals, and banking institutions into the storm. And here's the twist. Parts of his accusation started aligning with concerns raised separately by Wendy's own family. Her niece, Alex Finney, and her sister Wanda have both publicly said they've struggled to contact Wendy freely, describing unanswered calls and visits blocked without warning. Wendy's court-appointed guardian, attorney Sabrina Morrissey, has reportedly blocked family visits and sold off Wendy's Manhattan apartment. Wendy herself was reportedly begging to leave the assisted living facility, calling it a dump, and accusing staff of over-medicating her. all while Kevin was simultaneously suing that same system for cutting off funds he used to live on. The irony isn't lost on anyone. The very structure meant to protect Wendy from exploitation may have accidentally revealed just how many people had a financial stake in keeping her quiet in the first place. Meanwhile, Sharina didn't just disappear quietly. According to sources close to the situation, she deactivated her social media and relocated, possibly back with family, overwhelmed by the fallout. Gone were the Instagram glamour shots and designer promotions. She resurfaced later in 2025, pushing real estate listings, wellness products, and small business consulting instead. One source described it bluntly: she went from Gucci to gut cleanses. Industry sources who'd previously worked with her describe a woman in real despair, realizing too late that her place in Kevin's plan was never actually secure. She thought she was winning, one insider said. Now, she's just surviving. That despair reportedly started bleeding into her relationship with Kevin too. With mounting financial pressure and no steady income between them, tensions rose. Some claim Kevin stopped contributing to expenses for their daughter altogether, which only deepened the strain. According to a former associate, Sharina eventually moved out quietly and returned to live with relatives, possibly marking the end of the relationship entirely. Multiple people close to the situation describe her spiral as more than financial. It's emotional, too. One former friend called her withdrawn and visibly shaken during a recent run-in, saying she seems to be waiting for the next blow to land, worried about surveillance, lawsuits, and exposure. Some believe she's grappling with a genuine identity crisis, having spent over a decade defined by staying invisible while quietly benefiting. Without Kevin's legal backing or access to Wendy's money, she's reportedly struggling to find her footing, and whispers of mounting personal debt have started circulating around her too. That instability could eventually pull her into legal scrutiny of her own. If Wendy's estate ever moves to trace misspent funds or unauthorized transfers tied to her name, and Sharina benefited from any of it, even indirectly, she could find herself dragged into an entirely new wave of lawsuits. Nothing formal has been filed against her yet, but as one industry insider put it, in high-profile guardianships, the further the fall, the wider the net. Public opinion, for what it's worth, hasn't been kind to either of them. Fans had suspected the affair for years, but it wasn't until a Lifetime documentary aired in early 2024 that the full extent of the betrayal became undeniable to casual viewers. The footage showed Wendy struggling with confusion, speech difficulty, and limited mobility, while, allegedly, the people closest to her were negotiating brand deals and selling access behind the scenes. In one particularly gutting scene, Wendy is shown dropping a handwritten note from her assisted living window that simply read, "Help, Wendy." That image is part of why so many people now see this as bigger than one messy affair. Because when Kevin allegedly chose Sharina over Wendy, he didn't just break a marriage. Critics argue he helped set off a chain of events that left Wendy isolated and cut off from her own fortune at her most vulnerable. And the questions haven't stopped at Kevin and Sharina. Multiple unnamed sources, including former employees close to Wendy's inner circle, claim there have been internal power struggles between her guardian, her former publicist, and past managers, all allegedly jockeying for influence, while Wendy herself drifted further into silence. Some of those same people were reportedly shopping media projects about her life at the same time, raising uncomfortable questions about who actually benefits from her story staying unresolved. At the center of it all is Wendy, reportedly cut off, medicated, and closely monitored, with a gag order in place that's kept her from speaking publicly about her own circumstances. Her fans remain divided. Some believe she genuinely needs protection. Others believe she's being controlled under the guise of care. What's not up for debate is that nearly everyone who once orbited her for love, loyalty, or money has scattered, leaving behind lawsuits, a documentary, and a whole lot of silence. And the chaos hasn't slowed down. Kevin's legal team shows no sign of giving up on getting back into Wendy's financial picture, despite repeated losses in court. Sharina, once positioned as the next chapter of his life, now appears to be navigating all of this alone, scrubbed from his social media entirely. But insiders believe she may still be holding on to information that could matter later, especially if her situation keeps spiraling. One former stylist who worked with her back in 2019 put it simply, if she talks, a lot of people are going to regret underestimating her. So the real question becomes, if Kevin and Sharina weren't the only ones benefiting from this arrangement, who else was? How far does this actually reach? Because while some names are already public, others are still protected by sealed records and non-disclosure agreements. As investigators and Wendy's own family keep pushing for answers, this story looks less like a simple affair gone wrong and more like a financial ecosystem that quietly built itself around one woman's silence. Will justice ever actually free Wendy from all of it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what you think really happened behind the scenes. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell, because this storm is far from over.